This has gotten to the point of where it's no longer funny. You wouldn't think it'd be that difficult to read from a teleprompter. Hey there, folks. Real quick editor's note here. This video is based on viewer feedback from the Taurus GX2 tabletop and range review video that we did in January of this year. Some of the information contained in this video was covered in that production. While I made efforts to mitigate the amount of it, there will be some redundancy between that video and this one.
Get some new material, champ.
And for those of you who have been following along on our channel for the past few years, you're probably aware that we beat the proverbial dead horse with our coverage of the Taurus GX4. We presently have 21 videos on the GX4 in our playlist. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over all of the historical data that we have collected in this video. Rather, for those of you that want the dawn of time recollection, I invite you to check out that playlist, and I'll leave the link to it down in this description. For everyone else, I will summarize the GX4 history in about 60 seconds by saying that it debuted circa the 2021 SHOT Show and received the industry's Caliber Awards that year, not only for Best New Handgun, but for Best New Overall Product as well. It went on to receive Guns & Ammo's Handgun of the Year in 2022. At the time of its release, during the height of the Micro 9 craze, the GX4's $422 MSRP and 11 plus 1 round standard capacity of the factory Metgar magazines made it a serious competitor to the likes of the Springfield Hellcat and the SIG P365. That is, of course, so long as it functioned as intended. Early reviews of the GX4 were largely positive, with most of the growing pains involving a dead trigger reset on a handful of early numbered guns. There was also a drop safety recall, which we covered in May of 2023. Taurus was aware of this and offered a warranty recall of the affected batch of units. Our test sample, a very early production model, has seen thousands of rounds of use and abuse and has proven itself to be completely reliable to the point of earning the number 2 spot in my remuda of EDC pistols behind my P365. For the record, the order of preference between those two is based on the ease of pocket carry, which is my preferred method of carry during my daily commute. The P365 has a smoother grip texture and clears the pocket holster just a little bit easier than the GX4. The GX4 also had a radical departure from Taurus's decades-old Millennium series of striker-fired guns, which included the G2 and G3 series of pistols. We have covered the topic of why Taurus continued to produce the G2 series concurrently alongside the G3 in the past as well, so if you want to hear the dawn of time on that, feel free to watch the video, which the link is in the description as well. While the Millennium series remains a popular choice for budget-friendly handgun buyers, as I mentioned earlier, it is an aging design and bears similar aesthetics to another aging Taurus design, the '99 Ford Taurus. I used that reference before, but some of you didn't see it, and I found it fitting, so I'm using it again. Taurus no doubt realized that they were missing out on their share of the consumer market looking for a visually appealing, modern 9mm compact handgun. Building on the success of the GX4 platform, Taurus released the all-new GX2 series in January. The GX2 offers a modern alternative to the aging Millennium line by utilizing the feature concepts of the GX4 Micro series while managing to keep the cost significantly lower than that of its micro-sized older brother. With an MSRP of $333, it's almost $90 cheaper than the GX4, and close enough to the cost of the G2 and the G3 series that if I were them, I'd be planning my exit strategy right about now. So one might be wondering, how is Taurus able to bring the GX2 to the US market at nearly the same price as its 20-plus-year-old predecessors and at about 3/4 of the price of the GX4? I could summarize my theory by saying that it is simply the effects of BS governmental regulation. But for those of you that are completely unfamiliar with the process, I will do my best to explain how this works. Bear in mind, I'm not an expert, and I've been wrong before. The Gun Control Act of 1968 effectively curtailed the importation of small caliber, pocket-sized handguns not particularly suitable for sporting purposes under 18 U.S.C. Section 925d3. Then Congress allowed an unelected group of armed tax-collecting animal control specialists free rein to arbitrarily determine what criteria said weaponry must meet in order to possibly be suitable for importation. This applied to, among other things, any pistol under 4 inches in height and 6 inches in length, or with a combined measure of those two measurements of less than 10 inches, or pistols absent a manual safety. Those familiar with the GX4 will quickly realize that depending on how the bureaucrat decides to hold the tape measure, it might not meet the criteria based on size, and the absence of a manual safety further sealed its fate as being unsuitable for importation under the Gun Control Act, or at least not in its finished state. The workaround for that was simple, but expensive.
Well, we're waiting.
Long story short, parts for the GX4 are made in Brazil and then imported in pieces where final assembly is completed in Bainbridge, Georgia, USA. Much like your Walmart lawnmower or your Surefire flashlight is assembled in the US of globally sourced parts. That last one hurt a little bit, I can tell. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the GX4, at least the early guns like this one, shipped from the factory with Italian-made Mekgar magazines. Now let's turn our attention to the GX2. The Taurus GX2 is made in Brazil and imported to the US as a complete firearm. This reduces the cost of production by eliminating the need to have a US employee assemble the parts. Another way Taurus kept the cost down on the GX2 was to manufacture their own magazines for it in Brazil. In fact, I recall that being one of the first gripes I heard from the viewers, you people, in the comment section of the GX2 review video. All right, hold your horses and take it easy with the torches and the pitchforks. Mekgar magazines are second in quality to very few others. Given the choice, I'd pay a few extra doll hairs and have Mekgar magazines with the GX2. That said, I have never had any issues with reliability with the Taurus-made magazines supplied with my G3 or G3C, and the magazine supplied with the GX2 appear to be of the same pedigree. The GX2 also lacks the adjustable backstrap system found on the GX4 in favor of a molded as it is, one-size-fits-all, take-it-or-leave-it frame design. Regardless of whether these details are the extent of the reasons of why one is cheaper than the other, I don't know, but it simply appears that the GX2 cost less to produce, and that savings was passed on to the consumer. On that note, do any of you out there know if Taurus is still supplying Italian-made Mekgar magazines with the GX4? I figured by this point they might be utilizing their house-made magazines since they share the same feeding geometry as the magazines for the GX2. We covered that in the other video. I actually used the GX2 magazines in the GX4 with 0 issues whatsoever, but that only works one way because the GX4 magazines are too short for the GX2. Sticking with popular trends, here's a little bit of that reclaimed footage for you. I looked at the magazine that came with the GX2, and while it also bears the Made in Brazil markings and lacks the Mekgar Made in Italy markings of the GX4 magazine, I noticed that they were similar enough that I figured it would probably work in the GX4. So I loaded up the 13-round magazine that came with the G2C, and I put it in the GX4, and I fired this group. So not only did the magazine work and function in the GX4, but it was also a little bit better group. Now, was that because I was paying a little more attention and I tried not to jerk the trigger? Or was that because that little bit of extra magazine hanging down in my hand gave me somewhere for my pinky to rest while I was shooting that thing? Who knows? I was cold. I didn't want to stand out there shooting all day. So I ended my on-paper accuracy drills with that. So the GX2 is considerably cheaper than the GX4, more than likely for the reasons that we just talked about. But is it as good? Well, let's start out with a little side-by-side comparison. The GX2 is only about a half an inch longer and a half an inch taller than the GX4, but it feels like a much bigger gun. We have done extensive range work with both of these pistols, and what I found out in the past is this. Both of them have been extremely reliable, nearly 100%. The GX2 has a tendency to hit a little high to point of aim, but then we moved out to it's just behind the 25-yard line, so probably 30 yards out. It's a little reduced size silhouette about like this. Has a little head block on it about that size, and we shot at that a couple of times. Now, if you will remember, I told you that the GX2 was hitting a little bit high. That continued to be a thing, and I had to make a conscious effort to aim a little lower. I had to adapt like a 6 o'clock hold with it, with the sights that are included with it. Not a deal breaker. You just have to know where your sights hit on paper for you. Out at 25 yards, I would say this is, depending on ammunition, between 8 to 10 inches high. I did swap out the factory sights on it for a set of excess sights in hopes of mitigating that. The sights are obviously better now, but it really didn't fix the point of impact issue that I have with this particular pistol. My Taurus GX4 has been very, very reliable. I'm extremely comfortable shooting it. It's held up well despite some of the early internet claims that we mentioned earlier. And for a carry pistol, I just find it to be a better option. So which one would be right for you? It would depend entirely, I guess, on what you're going to use it for. If you're looking for a gun to throw in your glove box or on the nightstand, the GX2 is about $90 cheaper than the GX4, gives you a little better capacity, and for all intents and purposes, works just as well. The GX4 is a lot easier to carry, particularly, as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to carry it in like an Alabama pocket holster or some kind of little tiny inside the waistband holster. It's a lot easier to lug around, feels quite a bit smaller when you're wearing it on your body. I've gone on long enough with this. This video was intended just to point out and highlight some of the differences between the two and why one was more expensive than the other. I think we beat that dead horse as well. This video will go into our Taurus GX4 as well as our Taurus GX2 playlist for folks that want to find it in the future. Also, I didn't do a long-term review on the GX4 this year. I've done one the first year, the second year, and the third year that I've owned it, and it has continued to impress me with its durability and reliability. Suffice it to say, I'm probably not going to put that video out this year. Just know that I'm still happy with it. It's still a common choice in my everyday carry equipment. So I'm going to cut this off for now because I've gone on long enough. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think, what your feelings are on these two, and what experiences you might have had with either one of them. Hey there, folks. Thanks for watching today's production. Before you leave, let me ask you for just a moment of your time. I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not asking for anything directly from you other than a few more moments of your time. If you look out here on the table in front of me, you'll see the Bear Creek BC 10mm. There's several of you that have seen the review that we did on this platform here on the channel. You might also recall the review we did on the BC Grizzly, and also we've reviewed a couple of their other products that they have sent out to us for the purpose of review. Now, last time I spoke to the folks over there at Bear Creek, they said in order to keep sending stuff free gratis for us to review on this platform, they're going to need to show that they're getting traffic to their point of interest from this platform. And in order to do that, I need y'all to jump down to the pinned comment on this video. Check out that link that is right there. Just go over to their website, and by clicking on it and checking it out, it'll show that people are watching what I'm putting down over here and they are following up on it. I'm not asking you to buy anything. You don't have to buy anything, but it'll just show the folks over at Bear Creek that their investment in advertising dollars is well spent. If you do that for me, I'd appreciate it. I would consider it a personal favor. And until next time, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.